Let's do some rapid fire news.
The newly declassified Annex to Special Counsel John Durham's 2023 report reveals that the Obama-era FBI failed to investigate credible intelligence indicating the Hillary Clinton campaign was orchestrating a plan to link President Donald Trump to Russia falsely.
Yeah, basically the
indications
Obama
that she
administration
expected the FBI would
during
fail in the
Trump
effort.
during the
The
time
24-page
the first
annex,
term
declassified at the direction of
of
Senate
Trump's
Judiciary Committee
presidency,
Chairman Chuck Grassley,
or I
sheds
guess their
additional light
campaign
on what
trail.
Durham called one of the most serious episodes of political weaponization in modern intelligence history. The release follows a recent string of disclosures from CIA Director John Ratcliffe and Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, who earlier this month declassified dozens of pages of Trump-Russia documents. These include intelligence showing that by the spring and summer of 2016, the FBI had acted as an accelerant to Clinton-backed opposition research, chiefly the Steele dossier, that falsely portrayed Trump as a Russia asset. The newly released annex contains memos detailing confidential conversations between then Democratic National Committee Chairwoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz and senior officials at George Soros's Open Society Foundations collected in early 2016. According to the annex, a March 2016 memo referenced a Clinton campaign plan to link Trump to Russian organized crime to distract from her own email scandal. On August 3, 2016, then CIA Director John Brennan briefed top officials including then President Barack Obama, then Vice President Joe Biden, then National Intelligence Director James Clapper, and then FBI Director James Comey about the Clinton plan. That briefing was followed by a CIA referral to the FBI, which the Bureau never acted on. Former CIA
Man,
Director
it sounds
John
like
Brennan
another
and
secret
former
committee
Director of
was in
National
the background
Intelligence
trying to
James
do some
Clapper
shit.
thoroughly rejected their role in the collusion investigation in an op-ed in the New York Times. While the pair admitted some critics say the investigation could have been handled better, they say multiple thorough, years-long reviews of the assessment have validated its findings and the rigor of its analysis.
Right, there we have it.
President Donald Trump will sign an executive order today that officially reestablishes the presidential fitness tests. Several former and current professional athletes will be at the White House as the president puts pen to paper. Among them, golfer Bryson and former New York Giants linebacker Lawrence Taylor and the WWE's Paul Triple H. Levesque. The Obama administration replaced the test in 2012 with the Fitness Gram assessment, which focused on individual health.
You have it. Four family members found dead.
First at 5 on your news leader, new details on the four people who were found dead after a baby girl was abandoned at a house in Dyer County. Tonight we've learned those victims are all related to the little girl. Adriana Williams, the child's mother, her father Matthew Wilson, Courtney Rose, the child's grandmother, and her uncle, 15-year-old Braden Williams. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Greg Hurst.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Skurlock. After the child was discovered, law enforcement identified them early in their investigation as wanting to speak to them, but the four were discovered hours later, about 40 minutes away in Lake County. We have Team 3 coverage of this story tonight. Our Mike Suriani is in Lake County where the bodies were found, but we begin with our Shay Arthur live in Dyer County tonight where that little girl was initially dropped off in Dyersburg. Shay, you've done a lot of digging into this case today. What have you learned about it?
Stephanie, Greg, really such a tragic case, leaving so many people heartbroken here tonight. Everyone I've talked to, they are shocked. They're stunned. They're left with so many questions. How did a baby end up here, abandoned in a car seat at a home? Essentially, look around me here in the middle of farmland. And how did her family end up dead miles away in another county?
Tonight, there's a community trying to piece together tragedy. A little girl now left without a mother, a father, a grandmother, and a young
I'm
uncle
guessing whoever
after they
killed
were discovered
them
dead hours
took
after
the
she was
child
found
with them for
alone
a little bit.
in a car seat, abandoned in a stranger's front yard. Amy Anderson is a family friend of the victims, and while she asked us not to show her face, she did agree to speak about them and the impact their deaths leave on this small town.
It's tragic. It's tearing everybody apart. Everybody don't know what to think. There's been rumors here and there, but I just wished everybody would slow down on the rumors and wait until stuff is actually put out there as far as the truth goes, so that there's no more heartache than what already is.
She described Adriana Williams as a sweet person who loved being a mother, her partner, Matthew Wilson, as a wonderful father who loved his little girl, and Grandma Courtney Rose as a woman who loved her children. And while now heartbroken, everyone thankful the baby is safe.
Why is it so important now for this community to really, surround this little baby with love?
Because her family was just ripped from her. Now she's grow up and only know her mom and dad and her other grandma just from memories. And that's devastating.
Few details have been released in the investigation. The district attorney saying the TBI is heading up the case.
Yeah, the baby is an orphan now, basically.
Your typical homicide. So I knew that we were going to need the expertise of TBI.
But he did want to make one thing clear. He believes facts will show this is a targeted incident.
It's not something that this is just a random act.
Yeah, no,
occurred.
all
I
family
think
members
this
were
is
killed.
more isolated.
Yeah, they were
Stephanie Gray, that
targeting the
district
family
attorney,
for
also
some
tonight,
reason.
not
They
saying
didn't kill
how
the
those
kid
victims
for
were killed. For your news
This
leader
is
live in
strange.
Dyer County tonight, Shay Arthur, WREG, News Channel 3.
Super strange. Right, all family members got, but the one kid was taken away, and then 2 miles away. Yeah, man, that shit's weird. It's weird. What we got here?
Let's go to Fairfax County,
We
Virginia.
got a foreign invader.
Let's
trying
go to
to
Fairfax
steal a
County,
kid.
Virginia, a
Or
sanctuary
kidnap a
county,
kid.
and check in on one of their beloved illegal aliens.
It's a play area that I personally know very well. Parents supervise their kids in a small area outside of a department store, and it's mostly walled off where parents can sit and watch our kids. But on Friday morning, a toddler girl wandered off, and by the time her parents noticed she wasn't there, she was gone.
Fairfax County police are sharing this new surveillance video. It shows the suspect walk into a children's play area, and moments later, a little girl walked out. Watch closely. He followed shortly behind her and then casually picked her up. He walked out of view and into a nearby store with the little girl in his arms.
Police say the suspect carried her into the neighboring department store and up to the second floor. Police say one of the girl's parents finally caught up and rescued the girl. The girl was not injured, but the suspect got away.
We did some counting here, and there were just 22 seconds from the time the child left the play area to the time that man actually picked her up and started to walk away.
When he picked her up, he could have gone in 4 different directions. If he
Correct.
didn't go in the direction of the store,
it could have been
where
real
the
bad.
mom
He could have
was,
ran
so
off
she
real
saw
quick
him,
too.
God knows what would have happened. So we share this not to alarm people, but to make everyone realize that, yes, it can happen to anyone. It happens so very quickly, like you pointed out.
This video should piss you off so much you'd run through a wall in rage. This guy should not be in the country at all, and he's being protected in a sanctuary county. I can't emphasize that enough. And you won't be surprised to hear that he, of course, has a long rap sheet. But let's see how they managed to get this guy.
That suspect is 26-year-old Andres Caceres Haldin. He doesn't have a fixed address, but police say he was staying at the extended stay in Chantilly, 5 miles away from the mall at the time of the incident. And police also say that Haldin is suspected of taking a vehicle the same morning of this alleged incident at the mall.
A vehicle is reported stolen from an
He's
auto
from
repair
Latin
shop
America, though.
in the Chantilly area. Working
he's
again
from
with the
South
Real-Time
America.
Crime Center, with that information, was able to locate that vehicle and track that vehicle to a hotel in the Chantilly area.
Police arrested Haldin as he was coming out of his hotel room on Friday afternoon.
We found in court documents he has a history of assault and schizophrenia. What else can you tell us about
Oh,
him?
he's schizo.
I don't know a whole lot about him, but I know people who do things like
interesting.
he did, can't be in our society.
You mean repeat offenders who get out with a slap on the wrist? You
Yeah,
mean
what the
illegal
Wait,
aliens
what?
protected in sanctuary cities? Or are we going to
Excuse me?
pretend none of those things might lead to this?
The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children right here in Northern Virginia tells us that there were 712 attempted abductions or abductions of children in 2024.
I wonder if putting people behind bars at a higher frequency when a crime is committed and deporting lowlives who shouldn't be here in the first place might help with that?
Huh. Yeah. Yeah, that's fucking wild. Yeah, it's all right? You're just saying a bunch of crimes of, right, illegal foreign invaders. I'm never gonna fucking draw illegal aliens, foreign invaders. They're both the same thing. Yeah.
It's a twist no one saw coming. An energy drink meant to perk you up might have been sneaking in a little happy hour.
Whoopsies.
High Noon is alerting customers about a labeling mistake. The beverage company specializing in hard seltzer says some of their vodka seltzer cans were accidentally labeled as Celsius energy drinks, likely due to a packaging error.
It's probably because they're in the same.
High Noon says some 12 packs
They probably
of Beach
manufacture
variety
the
pack
same
cans
stuff.
filled with vodka seltzer may have been incorrectly labeled as Celsius Astro Vibe energy drinks, which are supposed to be non-alcoholic.
Yeah.
The mislabeled cans look like Celsius Sparkling Blue Raz Edition energy drinks.
Oh, but they
with a
got
silver
sticker
top.
slapped.
The company
with
says the products were shipped to retailers located in 6 states. Florida, New
Some
York,
people might have
Ohio,
gotten some
South
alcoholic
Carolina,
ones.
Virginia, and Wisconsin between July 21st and July 23rd. High Noon began a product recall after finding out that a packaging supplier used by both High Noon and Celsius accidentally sent empty Celsius branded cans to High Noon.
Basically,
consumers are reminded not
have
to
the
drink
same
Celsius
packaging
Astro Vibe
manufacturer.
energy drinks, Sparkling Blue Raz
they
Edition.
accidentally
The
sticker
affected
slapped
lot
the wrong
codes can
one.
be found on our website, san.com. For Straight Arrow News, I'm Lauren Keenan.
They got mixed up. Everyone's all discombobulated. What's going on? There's a lot more mistakes happening. Or at least that are being reported. Here's the camera capture. Devil's Den murder suspects. Arrest during haircut. He went to go get a haircut. Oh yeah, he's right there. Oh, that's the guy apparently. Oh, they got him. They're just like, oh! That lady's just like, oh, fuck. Oh, she cut him up a bit, too. Right? She was like halfway done, and then they got him. She's just like, oh, shit. The look on her face, dude. And then they haul him off. See ya, bitch. Like, oh, shit. Just like, like, oh, fuck. I'm in some shit right now. Police officers were members of the grooming gangs. See what I mean? You got corruption at every corner, dude.
Why were the grooming gangs covered up? Well, looks
Well,
like we might
because
have an
they were
answer. Well, sorry,
fucking
we've got a
doing
good
it
few
themselves,
answers
too.
that keep coming out in the years after the fact, but it looks like we have another answer. Women
Yeah,
abused as
'cause they
children
were
by
fucking-
Rotherham gangs say
they're doing shady
police
shit themselves.
also sexually assaulted them. That's interesting. How fascinating.
Man, this is looking like a RICO crime now.
5 women were exploited by grooming
Man,
gangs in
if
Rotherham
we
as
were in
children,
America,
say they were
holy
also
shit, this
abused
would be
by
a
police
fucking big-ass
officers in
RICO
the town
crime.
at the time. One says she was struggle snuggles from the age of 12 by a
Seeing as
serving
there's
South Yorkshire
different
police
fucking
officer in a
right.
marked police car. He would threaten to hand her back
There's
to
your
the
own
gang
utility
if she did not comply, she says.
that's
In
operated
a world
for
where
the
you were being
government
abused
by
so
the
much,
government.
being raped
Or,
once,
well, not really.
there goes the
For
monetization,
the
by a police officer
yeah, for
was
the
a lot
government,
easier than
for the
multiple
people.
struggle snuggles by the
And
gang.
they're doing
and I
this
think
kind
he
of
knew
shady
that,
shit.
she tells
Man,
the BBC.
that's fucked.
We have seen written accounts from these women, plus testimony from 25 other victims of grooming gangs, with some of those women saying that corrupt police officers worked alongside the gangs or failed to act on child sexual exploitation. And there we have our answer. A lot of the police were actually involved in it.
Yeah, they were
At least
involved,
1,400 children were abused by men in Rotherham between 1997 and 2013. The landmark report from Professor Alexis J. found in 2014. From the evidence we read and heard, the majority of victims identified their perpetrators as being of Pakistani heritage.
This is why it's
Professor
been
J.
swept
told us.
under the rug
A
so
new criminal
much.
investigation
It's
into the
because
involvement
there
of
was
police officers in
police
the Rotherham grooming
officers
scandal
fucking doing
is now
this
being
shit.
led by SYP's Major Crime Unit under the direction of the police watchdog. I've actually got another article, which I'm going to cover in a minute, that talks about how it's going to be conducted, and I think it's actually the best way to conduct it, but I'll save that for the next video. Professor J has told the BBC she is shocked that SYP is investigating its own former officers and say the criminal investigation should be handed to another force or independent body. Yes.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the police, being agents of the state, agents of the government, are just going to do that thing that the government has always done. We have investigated ourselves and we have established that we have done nothing wrong.
You can't leave it to the locals anymore. You got to leave it to the feds now.
Said, we
the
know
locals
how
are
hard
too
it must
fucked
be
now.
for a victim or survivor who has been so
the
badly let down in
local
past,
infrastructure
to put their faith
system,
into the
right?
South Yorkshire
Government,
police of today.
law
But she
enforcement
added that
forces
victims and survivors
corrupt.
were
You
at
gotta
the heart
get
of the
federal
investigation,
enforcement
with
now.
all actions being taken in their best interests. Now, as someone who has had to
Well,
deal with institutions like this,
this
the
is in
moment one
UK
of their
land,
own
so I don't
comes
know
under
what kind of
attack,
federal
they close
enforcement
ranks.
they have, but
They close ranks and immediately start defending that person. They deny any wrongdoing, and
they
there's
need to
much
get the big
absolutely
boy.
nothing that you
They
can
need to
do
get
about
their
it,
goddamn
because they'll protect
right.
their own, and the people that get to investigate this is them.
Not really Secret Service, but they're
we've looked into this and decided
the
our member
federal
of staff has
crime
done nothing
division.
wrong.
Right?
Tough titty, bye bye.
To
It's a
fix
complete
this
joke.
shit.
The 30 witness accounts seen by the BBC detail shocking allegations. Years of abuse from serving police
Basically, the
officers from the mid-90s to early 2000s, at the same time as being exploited by Rotherham grooming gangs. Most alleged victims were in their teens, but some were as young as 11. One woman says as a child she would hear a police officer
UK land
having
have
sex with
something
girls
akin
in
to the
exchange
FBI?
for drugs
I'm
and
pretty
money.
sure.
Another woman says, as a child, she witnessed a police officer supplying
Isn't it
illegal
like
Class A
MI6?
drugs to a
yeah,
grooming
that's
gang.
right.
So
It's
this
like
is
their-
obviously
it's like
stuff
MI6
they've confiscated and then they've passed it on for money, which is
like,
pretty common among
it's
police
named
officers, actually.
differently,
3 women describe being beat up by officers as children. One says this happened in a police cell.
Right, from Mission Impossible.
I mean, that's happened to me too. but for very different reasons. Yeah, I've had the old spring cosh to the back of the legs many times, even long after I was on the ground. I also I did have a little bit of a Bronson moment in a cell. I'm not going to tell that story. I did all right. There was 5 of them. I did not bad. And then they kicked the fucking shit out of me. The women's accounts seen by the BBC have been redacted to protect their identities.
Oh yeah,
they were collected by a specialist child abuse legal firm, Swatowska Solicitors,
they'll
as part of a bid to bring a separate civil claim against SYP and secure compensation for alleged victims, compensation that they are definitely due. One of the women, Willow, not her real name, says she was sexually abused by hundreds of men over 5 years after first being targeted as an 11-year-old in 1997 by a grooming gang. 2 police officers also sexually abused her, she says. Over 3 years, one of the SYP officers would repeatedly track her down and pick her up in a police car in Rotherham
over
Town
3
Centre,
years,
she
these
said.
2 police
He knew where we
officers have
used
been
to
doing
hang
it?
out. He would request either that kind or that kind in the back of the police
And these
car,
are
she
this
tells
is
the
just to this
BBC. I
one
don't think I've ever
person,
saw a
right?
better image of this nation.
Like, what about what about other people that they've fucking
So why weren't the
captured
police
or-
involved?
or
Because they were involved.
fucking
Because they were
took
bloody
under
involved.
arrest or
If she tried to
detained,
refuse
right?
his request,
Holy
says
fuck,
Willow, he
man.
would even contact the grooming gang directly to threaten her. I would rather be struggle snuggled once or give one man that than to be taken somewhere where I know it'd be 15, 20 guys, one after another. That was just easier, she says. After she was pressured into an illegal abortion by the grooming gang, she says a youth worker contacted social services
shit,
and
they
the
made
police.
her get an abortion. Right, they did
Should
the
have been
whole
made a long time ago. But she was left destroyed, she says, when one of the officers who had been abusing her turned up to interview her. Oh my God. No, and then she's too afraid to say anything because then he'll just pass it back to the gang. There it is. That's one of the methods they were using to get away with it for so long. A few days later, the same officer ripped her statement up in front of her and threw it in the bin, she says, and no further action was taken. No accountability. Of the 30 women who gave their accounts to
investigator was the
only
one
17
that
have
was
agreed to
doing
their testimony being given to the police, either because they're terrified.
Corrupt to the
Some of the
fucking
officers
core.
probably still work there. Some of the remaining potential witnesses have withdrawn from the SYP investigation, say the solicitors, with some saying they do not trust the force or have lost faith
No
in the
wonder
justice
they
system,
don't.
which,
No wonder
you know,
in UK land they don't fucking trust the
majority of
police
this country,
force
the
anymore.
majority of the natives
this
actually
shit
feel
has
about
been
the
going
justice system,
on.
but
Jesus
these
fuck.
girls definitely have a good excuse for feeling that, especially since the police were the ones involved in the abuse. It's beyond belief the accounts we have heard, says Amy Clowry from Switalski's, who has been collecting testimony of alleged police abuse, corruption and
No
misconduct
wonder the police
in
force
Rotherham
of the
for
UK
10 years.
land has been
There has been
falling
no
for
accountability
some
in
time.
the town, and
Yikes.
without accountability, there will continue to be a distrust of South Yorkshire Police, she says.
Yeah, well,
In
this
response,
is just
South Yorkshire Police
South
told us
Yorkshire.
it has a dedicated team of detectives working on this case who have worked diligently to explore all lines of inquiry, and the investigation is being overseen by the Independent Office of Police Conduct. They are kind of like a third-party body who do kind of honest work. They mostly investigate like corrupt police officers who are working with gangs to sell information, you know, giving them tip-offs about raids, blah, blah, blah. That's mostly what they do. But whether or not they're going to do anything in this case, you know, it remains to be seen. Whether or not,
Yeah, given what's happened already with some of the police
totally working
forces
really
already
hard
in
on
on it.
investigating
Fucking
ourselves.
Christ. Well, at least this police force.
Another
on
survivor of a grooming gang, Emma, not her real name, says that the current investigation into former officers and their role in the Rotherham scandal should have happened decades ago.
And if this is happening in this area, it has to be happening in some of the other areas.
Secrets. That's how they look at
Maybe
us.
to
She
not
says.
to the extent
I'm
that this one.
The
Man,
police
this
don't
one
give a
has
fuck
fallen
about
so
you.
far. Holy
Emma
shit.
was in care in the late 1990s.
This is
and
like
often
the
ran away from
epitome of
children's
fucking
homes. When she was
corruption.
found,
Holy
she
fuck.
would be struggle-snuggled by a police officer in a squat, she says. He targeted children in care, she says, because he knew they were vulnerable, playing on their fear and naivety. Which is, yeah, children that are in care homes are prime targets for abuse. Like we used to do, like I've said before, my mum and dad used to do foster care. I've heard some horror stories, ones that I'm not going to repeat. But there are guys that know that without the parents around, and also families where the dad's not around, that's the ones that they target. That's the ones that they will go after, because no adult guidance, no adult protection.
Yeah, no,
Lots of the people in
exactly.
the industry are just there to flex their power a little bit. They don't really give a shit about the kids themselves. They just like to yell at adults and flex their authority. They're just there to collect a paycheck and flex a little bit of power. They don't really give a shit. There are some, hashtag not all and all that, there are some in the institutions that do genuinely care and do genuinely want to protect the children. A lot of them really don't care, and that's why a lot of kids in these kids' homes are just prime targets for paedophiles. He knew we wouldn't be missed. He knew we wouldn't be reported. He knew we wouldn't be able to say anything. He knew that he had the upper hand, she explains. Professor Alexis J believes there were many legitimate causes for victims and survivors at the time to feel a total lack of trust in SYP because of the way some officers in the force behaved. It is important that potential conflicts of interest are brought to light before the process starts, she says.
Yeah, I mean,
she wants
in
the current
America,
criminal investigation to be run by an
some
independent
officers
police
who
force, or
indulge in
even
their
His
fucking
Majesty's
corruption
Inspectorate of
too.
Constabulary and
Right,
Fire and
they
Rescue
get
Services,
shit-canned real
which
quick.
assesses the effectiveness and efficiency of forces. In far too many cases,
Well, at
the
least,
priority
when
for
they
the
get caught, they get
institution of
shit-canned.
whatever kind is to protect their reputation rather than prioritising the welfare of children and the devastating effect that sexual abuse can have, Professor J adds, and I'm inclined to completely agree with that. David Greenwood from Switalski Solicitors says he doesn't have confidence that there are not officers who are burying evidence or just not finding evidence deliberately because they may know some of those involved in the allegations. Absolutely, they're doing that. The police have kind of like always done that. Like, I've even had it as well where There was an incident with a police officer where I was punched in the face a few times while handcuffed. And then when I got brought into the cells, I was like, he punched me, and his partner was like, no, he didn't. And I was just like, oh, you dirty bastards, man. Like, I don't trust the police. I do not trust the police at all.
Yeah, they just assault you and then fucking lie about it.
I know a guy, a friend of mine, who did 2 years in prison over completely made up charges. Completely made up charges. And I was there as a witness. I witnessed and saw that he did not do what the police officers were claiming. I wasn't even allowed to appear as the witness. To say that the police officers lied and made it up, and a friend of mine did 2 years in prison because of that. I'm sure that the full truth in terms of the levels of corruption
that's
and the
just
extent of it in
how
Rotherham
corruption
has yet
goes,
to come
yeah.
out, he adds. While the police watchdog, the IOPC, is overseeing SYP's investigation, one of its former investigators says he has no faith in it doing a good job. Gary Harper spent 2 years working on the IOPC's Operation Linden, an investigation
they gotta fill their
into how
quota.
SYP responded
He was
to allegations of
just
child
a
sexual abuse
perfect
in
quota.
Rotherham between 1997 and 2013.
Statistic.
The 8-year investigation was an
Unfortunately.
abject failure from beginning to end, says Mr. Harper, adding that SYP managed to evade almost any accountability because
They're on the
that's
run.
what happens when you let the police force investigate itself.
Yeah, itself,
The watchdog
yeah. They're
upheld
gonna hide
43 complaints
evidence.
against individual officers, with 8
They're
facing
gonna be like,
misconduct
"Oh,
and
we didn't
6
do this.
facing
We didn't
gross
do that."
misconduct charges.
Oh,
But
what?
no
What are you
officers
talking about? We
lost
didn't
their
see that over
jobs
there.
or faced criminal
No,
charges.
this person did
I'm
this.
sorry, but see if there was that much of a grievous failure that led to the sexual abuse and sexual assault prolonged over decades of children, and it's your fault, you don't deserve to just be sacked. You deserve to swing from a tree. But anyway, that was a bit too Fed posted. But anyway, Operation Linden involved 91
It's okay.
investigations. An IOP spokesperson told
Some
the
of these
BBC.
people need
We
to
concluded in
be
2022
guillotined,
that
you know?
SYP fundamentally failed in its duty to protect vulnerable children and young people during that
Off
time.
with their heads.
With regard to the current criminal investigation, the spokesperson said that they were satisfied that there is no conflict of interest.
What?
And that the IOPC
No
has been
conflict
assured
of
by
interest,
SYP that
motherfucker.
none of the investigating officers had
shady
either worked with any of the former officers under
See, this is why a lot of
investigation
people
or
have
were
problems
themselves
with police
investigated
officers.
as part
It's
of Operation
literally
Linden.
this kind of shit right here.
Officer named. There's been a name of an officer that was
Oh.
released.
No
Guess.
way.
Guess. We cannot see the names of the former SYP officers referred to
Oh,
in the accounts
shit.
of their alleged
Their
victims
names got
because the
leaked?
women's accounts have been redacted. But 3 former officers have been arrested since December 2024 on
Oh.
suspicion of historic sexual offences, including attempted struggle snuggle, indecent assault, and misconduct in a public office. The crimes are alleged to have taken place between 1995
Holy
and 2004, where the
shit.
officers were on duty as PCs. None has been charged. I think that's meant to say have. But the BBC understands that one alleged
Fucking
victim, Willow, in a
1990
report to the
holy
police, has named
fuck,
PC
2000
Hassan Ali as having struggle snuggled her.
No way.
How about that?
His
The first
name
time,
is
he literally
Hassan
said, "You do
Ali."
it for the other
Jesus
officer,
fuck.
so you're going to do it for me," she tells us. PC Ali died in January 2015, a week after he was hit by a car. There you go. On the day the collision took place, he had been put on restricted duties because of an investigation into alleged misconduct and the abuse scandal. He was never arrested. Willow also says that both officers who abused her, including PC Ali, were also involved in supplying drugs.
They were trafficking, dude. Holy, dude, these
SYP
guys were doing
spokesperson
like the
told
whole
BBC the
fucking
complaints the
human
force had received
basically
regarding
human
Hassan Ali
well, I
had
wouldn't say
not
human
been
trafficking,
drug-related
but
and concerned
they were
allegations of
assaulting
persistently
women
asking a victim on a
under
date,
the guise of
sharing
their
information and failure to safeguard victims.
as
Former
their
IOPC
police.
investigator Gary Harper
Like, holy
says he was
shit, man,
also
that's
aware of
fucked.
allegations facing PC Ali and says that the officers' links with organised crime groups were discussed
Right, these people
inside
are
the
supposed to be your
IOPC
protectors,
during
and
Operation
in turn
Linden.
they
There were several complaints
abuse
that
you
he had
and use
supplied
you.
and taken drugs, as well
Jesus
as sexually
fuck.
abused some of the survivors, he says. At the time, the IOPC and SYP were aware of a second officer accused of abuse against children, he adds, but SYP had allowed the officer to retire.
What the fuck?
Instead of, arresting
Arresting
him for
him, what the
sexually abusing
fuck?
children, pretty
Yeah, what
serious
the
crime.
hell?
I mean, not according to the police, but I would regard that as a very serious
Dude,
crime.
that's suspicious
At
as
best, it
fuck.
was a reputational covering exercise. That's me being incredibly generous to them. At worst, it was out-and-out corruption to let him go. The IOPC told the BBC it had no record of such allegations against PC Ali being raised by any of the victim survivors involved in Operation Linden. It said it had investigated a report from a third party that a former officer had a sexual relationship with 2 young vulnerable females. These individuals had been spoken to as adults and had denied this took place, it added. I know, but however, no smoke without fire, there are other ones that are saying, yeah, he did that. So, maybe double check, and obviously the police might be trying to obfuscate the evidence as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Well, given how much time has passed, and if this fucking whole force did some shit, yeah, dude, you shouldn't believe what any of these motherfuckers say.
Sexual abuse by grooming gangs must be thoroughly investigated.
They fucked with the evidence, man. They fucked with so much
announced
shit.
in June a new national police operation into grooming gangs led by the National Crime Agency, which will ensure that every historic case is fully investigated, and I hope every
yeah, that's
this report found at least 1,400 girls rather
so,
than children were abused.
Dude, this has been happening for fucking literally 30, like almost 30 years.
Basically, it's nice that this is being
on and off
now, but I mean,
like what the fuck?
A few decades too late.
Yeah, this is way too fucking late. Like what the fuck, dude? Even 10 years ago, this shit was. That's how fucked up this was. And they have been hiding it. Literally hiding it. Fucking corrupt motherfuckers, dude. Dude, this is why no one trusts the government. It's literally that kind of shit right there. Fucking hell, man. That's fucking rough. Holy shit. See, this is why they don't allow you to have cutlery, right? This is why they don't allow you to have firearms. It's because they're trying to actively fuck you over in UK land. They're trying to get you killed, and they're trying to use and abuse you. You're just cattle to them, right? Holy fuck. What do we got here? Cincinnati authorities warn white visitors not to use their skulls to attack black fists. What? Local authorities issued a warning advising all white visitors to the city to please make sure they avoid assaulting the fists of black people with their skulls. Please don't have your face run into their fists. It's not good. In a joint press conference with the police chief, Mayor Aftab Poreval strongly urged anyone who is white to exercise restraint during their time in the city. Oh, are they trying to blame it on white? Yeah, I bet. Yeah, it seems like all these people are trying to blame it on white people, right? And you have these people who are clearly white, and they're all like, "Oh, we're just gonna take the guilt. It's fine. We can take it." What the fuck are you talking about? Every year, hundreds of innocent black fists are brutally attacked by the skulls. Or is this gang wars now? What is this? Eye sockets and jaws of cruel white people, said Percival of reporters. The senseless white-on-black violence must stop now. The sanctity and safety of our local black fists are at stake. Black power. For goodness sake, show some humanity, white people. Law enforcement experts confirmed that in addition to black fists and knuckles being constantly injured by whites, black-owned sneakers are often scuffed and damaged by defenseless and motionless white faces as they stomped into the concrete. This uncalled for racial violence must end, said Cincinnati Councilwoman Victoria Parks. Stop attacking black shoes with your faces. There's no excuse. Stop rubbing your face against the black shoes. It doesn't bode well. At publishing time, Cincinnati Police Chief Teresa Tej, Tej? I never know how to say her name. Made it known that any white people using their faces to bludgeon innocent, unsuspecting black fists would be brought to justice. Jesus. That's a good one. Alright, there you have it. And I'll leave everything in the description as usual. There we have it.